robots and see how robots are revolutionizing industries and changing the way we live and work. We also delve into how cutting-edge technologies are revolutionizing healthcare. And we take you on a unique journey to Tokyo's extinct Media Museum, a fascinating space dedicated to preserving the history of technology. This and more on WION World is One at these times.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. Our top story tonight on Gravitas is about the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the Gaza ceasefire deal. The pressure on Netanyahu is only mounting. In fact, he is putting his position as Prime Minister at risk by trying to seal the Gaza ceasefire deal. What lies ahead? What would the deal mean for his future? We decode the latest for you as we get you the bigger picture. And here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. As Imran Khan stares at 14 years in prison, he is hoping for a political miracle. We get you more on that. Iran and Russia are seeking a new balance of power. We tell you the latest about the dynamics. Also, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg has called for more quote-unquote masculine energy at workplaces, leaving behind a series of serious questions. We get you more on that in just a bit. All this and much more coming your way. Our top story tonight on Gravitas is about the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He is under intense pressure. He is putting his position as Prime Minister at risk by trying to seal the Gaza ceasefire deal. After months of saying no to ceasefire, Netanyahu is finally close to sealing the deal, and in doing so is at war with his own government. In fact, just a short while back, Israel's Security Cabinet approved a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release agreement. This follows last-minute conflicts with Hamas, delaying the vote by a day. Now, with disputes resolved and the Cabinet's green light, a ceasefire in Gaza is one step closer. Or is it? Can this ceasefire deal endure the internal politics of the Israeli government? That is the big question at hand. You see, while the Security Cabinet has shown support, a government meeting is still needed for the final approval, and that meeting is supposed to take place later tonight. What happens when the deal doesn't pass government approval? We know now for sure that Netanyahu is facing a predicament within his own ranks. Let's just break it down for you. On Thursday, when the Security Cabinet was originally scheduled to vote, Netanyahu's office quickly accused Hamas of jeopardizing the latest ceasefire deal. This postponement created a bit of a crisis, making the celebrations surrounding the announcement of a ceasefire after 15 months of fighting seem premature. And then by Thursday evening, more questions over the future of the deal emerged. Itamar Ben-Gvir, Netanyahu's hardline national security minister, in fact announced that he would quit the government if it ratified the ceasefire deal in Gaza. He claimed that it would, quote-unquote, erase the achievements of the war, as it would mean release of Hamas and ceding of territory in Gaza. And this came as a blow to Netanyahu. You see, Netanyahu, who has been so keen to hold on to power as prime minister, is heavily dependent on the far-right elements of Israeli political class for his survival. If Ben-Gvir quits, he puts Netanyahu's government in jeopardy. But Ben-Gvir is not the only one who has a problem with the Gaza deal. Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich has also expressed conditional support for the hostage deal. Smotrich has threatened that his party would leave the government if it did not receive assurances in advance that the IDF would resume its military operations in Gaza. It's not clear if Smotrich would merely leave the government or actively attempt to topple it. But as it stands right now, there are two political irritants for Netanyahu inside his cabinet, and they are Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich. The men bring with them votes which allegedly shore up support for Netanyahu in the 120-seat Israeli parliament. Ben-Gvir's party commands 6 votes, while Finance Minister Smotrich's team is 7 strong. Neither of the men, by the way, are fans of ending the war in Gaza. They view a ceasefire and hostage deal as a sort of surrender to Hamas. Each has threatened to quit the government if it goes ahead. Ben-Gvir has even boasted of scuttling previous negotiations with such tactics. On Thursday night, local time, Ben-Gvir held a press conference where he reiterated that he would leave Netanyahu's coalition if a ceasefire went ahead. And with such opposition within the Israeli government, what hope is there for a ceasefire deal, really? If Netanyahu, also facing pressure from the US and mediators, pushes for the deal despite opposition, would risk his own post as prime minister? You see, alienating right-wing politicians who could hold the key to his ongoing hold on the prime minister post might not have immediate consequences, but would seriously jeopardize him the next time there is an election. Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, along with other like-minded Israeli leaders, believe the relentless bombardment of Gaza needs to continue. In their view, that is the only way to, quote-unquote, crush Hamas. And they are ready to risk the lives of Israeli hostages, it seems, who are still in Hamas's captivity. Remember, 33 hostages are slated to be released by Hamas in the first phase of the proposed ceasefire. In total, there are reportedly 98 hostages still in Gaza. Some investigations by the Israel Defense Forces reportedly have suggested that some of the Israeli hostages who have been killed in the war so far have died as a result of the Israeli operation, either by falling victim to Israel's own strikes or potentially being killed by Hamas in retaliation for IDF missiles being launched close to their strongholds. The calculation that Netanyahu needs to do right now, basically, is to see if this is a price he is willing to pay to appease those who prop him up. And that is a calculation that will likely continue late into tonight. Meanwhile, the clock is ticking on the deal, if any, to come into force on Sunday. We now shift our focus to Pakistan, where it's been quite a day for Imran Khan and his wife Bushra Bibi. After delaying the verdict thrice, a Pakistani court finally convicted former Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife Bushra Bibi in a landmark corruption case. Both were held guilty in the $231 million Al-Qadir Trust case. The court sentenced Khan to 14 years in jail, while his wife Bushra Bibi was given a 7-year prison term. Khan is languishing in jail since August 2023, remember. He is charged with around 200 cases, but his party claims the latest conviction is being used to pressure him into stepping back from politics. The case relates to accusations that both Imran Khan and Bushra Bibi facilitated illicit transfer of funds. These funds were reportedly intended for the state of Pakistan, but deposited into an account designated for land payments identified by the UK during the previous PTI government. Imran Khan has been convicted of misusing his power to approve the settlement and allegedly gaining personally from the deal. Imran Khan reiterated his innocence. The ex-Prime Minister was in fact quick to reject the charges. He accused the judiciary of succumbing to political pressure. In a statement by his party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, quoting Khan, said, but who, in fact, we'll tell you about that statement in just a bit, but the question is, who is Imran Khan hinting at? Who is the so-called dictator he is talking about in that statement? Early this month, Khan had claimed that he was indirectly approached about the possibility of house arrest at his sprawling home on the outskirts of the capital, Islamabad. But he has remained defiant, firing off statements against the government and promising to fight his battles through the courts. The former cricket star enjoyed popular support when he became premier in 2018, but fell out with the king making military establishment and was booted from power in a 2022 no-confidence vote. Khan was shot and injured in a November 2022 assassination bid for which he accused top military officers of plotting the attack. This, analysts believe, amounted to crossing the red line in a country ruled by generals in a way for decades. In 2023, Pakistan's current Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif claimed that the incumbent army chief, General Asim Munir, was removed as the head of the ISI in 2019 by his predecessor Imran Khan. Sharif claimed that the spy chief confronted Khan with the proof of corruption involving his wife. Munir was replaced as the Inter-Services Intelligence Chief by Lieutenant General Faiz Hamid when Imran Khan was at the helm. Imran Khan's relationship with the former Pakistani Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa was no less turbulent, by the way. The former Prime Minister had blamed Bajwa for allegedly toppling his government. Imran Khan had said that he regretted over-trusting the former Army Chief while in power. In 2019, while Khan was the Prime Minister, he approved an extension for General Bajwa for another 3 years, barely months before Bajwa was set to retire. Although the generals deny interfering in Pakistan's politics, their involvement as kingmakers is an open secret. And this verdict comes just days after PTI chairman Gaur Ali Khan claimed that he and the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Chief Minister Ali Amin Gandapur held a meeting with the Chief of Army Staff, General Asim Munir, in Peshawar. The PTI chairman, in fact, said that the meeting was held on the instructions of their founder, Imran Khan. A statement attributed to security sources issued on state broadcaster PTV News's X account claimed to provide the real story of the conversation the two PTI leaders had. The post said the conversation with Barrister Gohar and Ali Amin Gandapur in Peshawar took place in the context of security and counter-terrorism issues in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Barrister Gohar tried to discuss political issues. Barrister Gohar was told to discuss political issues with politicians. The statement said, I'm quoting, "The conversation was presented out of context. An attempt has been made to give political color to the discussion on security issues, which is regrettable." Quote unquote. The verdict against Imran Khan has come at a time when the entire world is eyeing the US for Donald Trump's inauguration. In 2022, Imran Khan accused a senior US diplomat, Donald Lu, of alleged involvement in a conspiracy to topple his government through a no-confidence vote tabled by the opposition. Khan claimed that Donald Lu warned the Pakistani envoy to the US that there would be implications if Khan survived the no-trust vote. Trump, who is in fact has in his first term criticized Pakistan for providing nothing but lies and deceit, later developed a rapport with Khan when he was Pakistan's prime minister from 2018 to 2022. The two first met in Washington in July 2019 and again in Davos in January 2020, where Trump called Khan a very good friend. So the question remains, does this verdict mean it is the end of the road for Imran Khan as he stares at 14 years in prison, or can he hope for a miracle? His party, for that matter, has said it will appeal in a higher court against the verdict. Not just that, Pakistan's politics frequently witnesses leaders return to high office after serving time in jail. And as a former national cricket captain, Khan has delivered victory in the face of seemingly impossible odds before. He was voted in by millions of Pakistanis who grew up watching him play cricket, where he excelled as an all-rounder and led the country to a World Cup victory. Often described as impulsive and brash, Khan still trades on the charismatic persona he crafted on the pitch. The former cricketer once said in a TV interview that he will fight till the very last ball. On to some breaking inputs coming in from the US, where the Supreme Court has upheld the law banning TikTok. It's a crucial development and a major defeat for TikTok. The court has ruled that the law does not violate free speech rights and that the US government had demonstrated legitimate national security concerns about the Chinese company owning the app. Let's get into more details now from our correspondent Susan Tehrani, who is joining us for more on that. Susan, if you can just break down for us what more we know at this point.
So, as you mentioned, the Supreme Court did uphold that ruling for TikTok to basically be banned in the United States if there isn't a U.S. buyer. And it seems that ByteDance has not agreed to sell this to a U.S. buyer, despite the fact that we have breaking news. There's an investor named Kevin O'Leary who has posed interest in buying TikTok. We now know that he has put forth about $20 billion with another investor to buy it. Now, there are also reports that the next step may be an executive order by President-elect Donald Trump. He could issue that executive order to delay this process, but only if ByteDance and, of course, the Chinese Communist Party agrees to sell it. There's enough evidence that there is this agreement, that the process is ongoing to sell it to an American buyer. One thing that we also know right now, a lot of developing and moving parts. President-elect Trump spoke to Xi Jinping of China, and we know that one of the issues they talked about was TikTok. And, the president-elect really wants to use this as a soft power tool, perhaps with negotiations with China. So he's had a change of heart to try to keep TikTok in the United States. But nonetheless, the Supreme Court was very fast in ruling, and come Sunday, if nothing happens, then TikTok is going to go dark here in the United States, mainly because a lot of the platforms that host TikTok, like the App Store and for Android and whatnot, they're going to be fined if this app is on their servers. So they have a lot of incentive to really shut it down and go dark. What happens this weekend? We're also hearing that ByteDance is perhaps thinking that it may be able to sell, because there's talks that if it does sell to an American company, then the CEOs and the higher-ups of TikTok would continue to have their jobs, but it would be under an American ownership. So a lot of unknowns, a lot of moving parts. The next couple of days are going to be detrimental for the future of TikTok here in the United States.
All right, we're leaving it there for the moment. Susan, thanks very much for joining us with those updates for now. Shifting focus for now, on Friday, Russian President Vladimir Putin hosted the Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian in Moscow. The Iranian leader is visiting the country to hold talks with Putin and sign a strategic partnership treaty. Now, what is that pact all about, you're wondering? A partnership agreement between Pezeshkian and Putin to intensify collaboration across various sectors, including military, nuclear energy, advanced technology, most importantly, combating international sanctions. Both victims of Western sanctions seek to build a new balance of power in Western Asia. The coming together of Iran and Russia is driven by a mutual desire, by the way, to challenge the West. But this shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. You see, since the Ukraine war started, nearly 3 years ago now, Moscow and Tehran have been growing increasingly closer. Iran has sent short-range ballistic missiles as well as drones to Russia. Iranian weapons have greatly aided the Kremlin's war effort. In return, the Kremlin has provided some support to Tehran. Since the start of the war, Russia has been working to counter what it sees as a quote-unquote aggressive West, led by the United States. In June, Russia signed a partnership agreement with North Korea. And then in December, a security treaty with Belarus formalized the deployment of Russian tactical nuclear weapons in that country. Both treaties included a mutual defense clause. Russia also leads what is known as the Collective Security Treaty Organization, CSTO, a grouping that includes Belarus as well as several other ex-Soviet states. It's seen as a counterweight, in a way, to NATO. Frozen out by the West over the Ukraine war, Russia has been forming and strengthening alliances in the East. Iran, for its part, is facing a number of challenges in the region. Its militant allies have been weakened due to the grinding war with Israel. Its economy is in shambles thanks to sanctions. And now, with Donald Trump's return as the American president, Tehran expects more pressure from Washington to isolate the country. Both the countries have also recently faced a major setback in West Asia with the fall of Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria, and these factors have brought the two countries closer. Besides defense matters, Russia has been working with Iran and other countries to establish an alternative to the Western-led SWIFT, S-W-I-F-T. It's basically a global messaging system that connects over 11,000 financial organizations, allowing them to notify each other about pending transactions. When the Ukraine war broke out in 2022, Russia was removed from the SWIFT system by the West, a move aimed at punishing Russia for the war, quote unquote. Did it stop the Kremlin though? No, it did not. Western sanctions failed in their goal of destabilizing the Russian economy and instead backfired on the states that actually introduced them in a way. And now Moscow also aims to construct a railway through Iran that would basically link Russia directly to ports on the Persian Gulf. The agreement would enable Iran to function as a crucial transit point for Russian gas exports to global markets. Pezeshkian's visit to Moscow also coming at a time when Iranian influence across West Asia is in threat. And as we mentioned earlier, in Syria, Islamist rebels seized power, expelling Bashar al-Assad. In Gaza, Iran-backed Hamas is close to a ceasefire with Israel after months of being pounded by Israel. Its group in Lebanon, Hezbollah, also experienced some serious damage. Same goes for Russia. Moscow finds itself on the back foot in Syria, where it maintains two major military facilities, crucial to its geopolitical as well as military influence. But with fate under Syria's new rulers now uncertain, Russia is bound to be concerned. No wonder then the two countries are focused on building a new balance of power in the region. Shifting focus, at least 44 Pakistani nationals are among the dead after a boat carrying illegal migrants headed for Spain capsized in the Atlantic off Africa. This is the second big case of its kind in the last month involving Pakistanis fleeing their country in a desperate search for a better life in Europe. The boat carrying 80 people had been stuck in the middle of the ocean for 13 days before the rescue started, according to reports. It eventually capsized near the Moroccan port of Dakhla, the port of Dakhla. 36 people were rescued, 44 including women and children drowned. Migrants traveling from Pakistan to Spain typically attempt the journey by sea. The journey from Pakistan to Spain by the sea route takes them from Karachi to the port of Barcelona. Mauritania in West Africa and the Canary Islands are typically places they break journey. It's a journey of nearly 9,500 kilometers, by the way. They are facilitated by agents and human traffickers who live off a desperation among a large group of Pakistanis who have fled home. Rising trouble and a falling quality of life there means they are willing to risk it all for a better life. The desperation is palpable. Reports suggest a record 10,457 migrants or 30 people a day died trying to reach Spain in 2024, quite a number. Most migrants reportedly die while attempting to cross the Atlantic route from West African countries like Mauritania and Senegal to the Canary Islands. Another route for Pakistani nationals fleeing home is through Middle Eastern countries to reach the North African coast, and here they board dangerously small boats to cross the Mediterranean to Spain. The Morocco boat tragedy comes a month after at least 40 Pakistanis lost their lives near Greece in December last year. Although 36 Pakistanis were rescued, the rest still remain missing and are presumed dead. In 2023, another boat carrying illegal immigrants sank around Greece, resulting in the deaths of 262 Pakistanis. Then two authorities had vowed a strong response against agents involved in human trafficking. In the rising number of such incidents, what it all boils down to is the desperation to get away. These are Pakistan's deaths of despair. The Russian military is advancing steadily. Ukrainian defenses are under relentless pressure. The Eastern Front is tilting towards Moscow's favor in a way. Kursk is a key battleground, and Ukraine struggles to hold its ground. A day after the UK Prime Minister's visit to Kiev, the Iranian president is in Moscow. Both Russia and Ukraine are trying to shore up support and gain an advantage on the battlefield days before Donald Trump returns to the White House.
Missiles and drones dominate the skies. Russia's latest offensive has unleashed a crippling wave of attacks targeting Ukraine's energy sector with precision. President Zelensky describes it as one of the heaviest bombardments since the war began nearly 3 years ago. Ukraine in turn has struck deep into Russian territory using American and British missiles, but the scale of Russian retaliation is overwhelming. Apart from ballistic and cruise missiles from the air, Russian troops are firing advanced weaponry targeting Ukrainian positions. This is 2S5 Giat-Sint-S 152mm self-propelled gun. Apart from conventional ammunition, the gun can also fire nuclear projectiles. Civilians in Ukraine endure relentless shelling, struggling for survival as winter deepens.
It's a frontline town. There was shooting all the time. You go out in the morning with the coffee onto the balcony of the apartment you were renting, and there were shells flying there and back. So scary, made you want to run straight away.
Iran's President Pezeshkian signs a strategic partnership in Moscow, joining Russia's growing alliance with North Korea, Belarus and China.
We will not only have the opportunity to discuss and will discuss all areas of our cooperation, but we will also sign a broad, basic agreement between Russia and Iran on a comprehensive strategic partnership.
With the comprehensive strategic partnership plan that will be signed today, after years of preparation, we'll be able to enhance our ties in all domains, including security, economy, culture and commerce, and boost the relations together.
In contrast, Britain's Prime Minister Starmer rushes to Kyiv with a 100-year partnership agreement. Yet Trump's incoming administration signals a dramatic shift, hinting at letting Russia keep occupied territories and blocking Ukraine's NATO aspirations.
I see no other possibility of any type of agreements with Russians they would obey, unless we are members of NATO and they are afraid of the retaliation from NATO if there is a conflict between Ukraine and Russia. So I do not believe in the Russians would honor any sort of agreement. They violated numerous dozens and dozens of ceasefire agreements under the Minsk arrangements.
However, uncertainty looms with the impending inauguration of Donald Trump. His administration signals a shift in US policy, suggesting that Russia might retain the territories it occupies. Trump is urging Europe to bear more responsibility, leaving Ukraine in a precarious position. As the battlefield rages and global alliances shift, Ukraine's fate hangs in the balance. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
At a time when the west coast of Hollywood is almost up in ashes, US President-elect Donald Trump named movie legends and Hollywood icons Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson and Jon Voight as special envoys to Hollywood. In his bid, he stated that this was his attempt to make the entertainment industry stronger than ever before. The post on Trump's Truth Social says, and I'm quoting here, "It is my honor to announce Jon Voight, Mel Gibson and Sylvester Stallone to be special ambassadors to a great but very troubled place, Hollywood, California. They will serve as special envoys to me for the purpose of bringing Hollywood, which has lost much business over the last 4 years, to foreign countries, back bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. These three very talented people will be my eyes and ears, and I will get done what they suggest. It will again be like the United States of America itself, the golden age of Hollywood, quote unquote. Now, when you look at recent history, Trump has not had many friends in Hollywood in a way. A-listers from the film industry, in fact, have happily rubbed shoulders with Democrats like Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. In 2020, many actors even claimed that they would flee from America if Trump became the president. But actors like Jim Caviezel, Jon Voight have been exceptions. The recently mentioned trio of stars standing out in Tinseltown, breaking ranks with the bulk of their colleagues who have long leaned to the Democrats. Jon Voight, the father of Angelina Jolie, has openly expressed his political differences with his daughter. The 86-year-old actor has been an outspoken conservative actor and longtime supporter. During one of his interactions with the media, he declared Trump to be the greatest president since Abraham Lincoln. Recently, Stallone called Trump the second George Washington while introducing the 47th president at the America First Policy Institute Gala in November. Gibson, who was previously a supporter of the Biden-Harris duo, in 2024 switched sides, stating that Vice President Kamala Harris held a very miserable track record. Trump's recent decision to appoint ambassadors or class monitors of Hollywood hints at the former and future president's possible interest to use the industry as a soft power tool and restore Hollywood financially. In fact, he is the first US president-elect to do such a thing. Post-pandemic, the industry has witnessed a limited number of billion-dollar hits. In 2018, 6 movies had crossed the billion-dollar mark, and in 2019, 9 movies had made the cut. But 2022 onwards, when the theatres were slowly recovering from the pandemic, only 2 movies each year have managed to meet the billion-dollar mark. In 2023, when the industry was recovering from the horrors of the pandemic, the dual strike in Hollywood caused another hindrance to the economy. The only entertainment event that boosted economies was Taylor Swift's Eras Tour, by the way. In other words, the industry is in dire need to bounce back from the series of unfortunate events. They need to up their game in terms of making more movies and generating more revenue. First the pandemic, then the actor and writer strikes, and now the wildfire. This might be Trump's opportunity to make a few new friends in Tinseltown. After all, let's not forget the viral video where he was seen in a rather chatty mood with the former President Barack Obama. A similar strategy has been noticed in India, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also been seen conducting sessions with the top celebrities of the country. Well-known stars like Diljit Dosanjh, the actors and producers of the Kapoor family, have also been seen coming to the country's capital to be a part of a conversation with the world leader. In December 2024, the top elected ministers of India were also seen attending a special screening of the Sabarmati Report with actors Vikrant Massey, Jitendra and his producer daughter Ekta Kapoor. The Prime Minister had stated that this was the first movie he had watched after assuming office more than 10 years ago. A similar trend has also been noticed in China, where the authorities have pushed the country's movie making as a soft power. Various Chinese films have outdone Hollywood films in the past few years, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. Maybe it's time for America as well to learn from these Asian countries who are making 1,000 to 1,500 movies each year, and with Trump being the torchbearer. After months of speculation about his political ambitions, Mark Carney has joined the race to succeed the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, the former Bank of Canada and Bank of England governor, has announced his run for leader of Canada's governing Liberal Party. Carney formally launched his bid in his hometown of Edmonton. He said he is doing this because Canada is the best country in the world, but it could still be even better. While he recently served as an economic advisor to Trudeau, Carney is the only candidate in the Liberal Party's leadership race who is not an elected member of Trudeau's government. He has branded himself as an outsider who brings financial knowledge to a country struggling with a sluggish economy.
Yes, Canada needs change, but not just any change. We need change that works for people, and we've never needed it more. So if you remember one thing from what I say today, remember this. I am going to be completely focused on getting our economy back on track.
Carney brings a range of economic experience to the race. He previously worked at the investment bank Goldman Sachs before joining the Canadian Finance Ministry in 2004. He then served as Canada's central banker and had to deal with the after effects of the global crisis in 2008. And he then moved to London, where he served as governor of the Bank of England until 2020. During his tenure, he led efforts to support the UK economy through Brexit. He was then appointed the UN Special Envoy for Climate Change. And in recent months, Carney also advised Trudeau on economic matters. If he wins, the 59-year-old will succeed Trudeau and lead the country into the next general election, which must be held before October this year. Earlier this month, remember, Trudeau announced his intent to resign once a new Liberal leader is selected. And Trudeau will stay on until his replacement is named on the 9th of March. Carney's main rival seems to be former Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, whose resignation last month over policy differences led to Trudeau's decision to quit. But the new Prime Minister is unlikely to be in office for long. The minority government could be toppled in Parliament as soon as the end of March, triggering an election that polls indicate the opposition Conservatives will win. Our next story is about a tech CEO and his questionable take on workplace culture. I know what you must be thinking. Not again. Haven't we had enough of that? Well, we had the same reaction when we read this headline. I'm quoting, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg calls for more masculine energy at workplaces, quote unquote. Now, let me just say that again. Masculine energy. And I will give you a second to let that sink in. Here's the context, by the way. During an appearance on podcaster Joe Rogan's show, the Facebook founder declared that much of the corporate world is, quote unquote, pretty culturally neutered. He said that companies would benefit from more masculine energy. And it got us wondering, what does that even mean? You see, Zuckerberg did not really bother defining what he means, but he is clearly triggering serious questions. And doesn't this dangerously tilt towards an outdated, tired stereotype that men are aggressive and that's a good thing for business? He said, and I'm quoting here, I think having a culture that celebrates the aggression a bit more has its own merits that are really positive, quote unquote. Celebrates aggression? Is that the kind of leadership we really want or need in this day and age? It is 2025 after all, because the last time we checked, aggression should be the last thing anyone should have to deal with at a workplace. Zuckerberg also complains about a quote unquote neutered corporate America. Now, here's a quick fact. Women remain underrepresented in the top management of US companies, with the Catalyst report indicating that women occupied merely 41 CEO positions at S&P 500 companies in 2023. That, by the way, is just 8.2%. And here's a question for Mark Zuckerberg. If the leadership at some of the biggest companies in the world are all male-dominated, can you really call it neutered? You see, the aggressive kind of manhood he's talking about, that he says we are apparently missing at the workplace, has another name today, and it's called toxic masculinity by many. Mr. Zuckerberg, are you really saying that we need more toxic people at workplaces? And while Zuckerberg is casually parroting culture war terms like masculine energy, here's what is reportedly happening at the Meta offices. It recently announced that Meta would be removing protocols that restrict how users can actually discuss topics like immigration, sexuality, gender identity. And there have also been reports that allege that tampons were being removed from the men's bathrooms in the Meta offices, making trans workers, at the very least, feel less welcomed at work. And if you thought that was something, here's more. Zuckerberg, the same person who once promised a better future for women in tech, seems to be doubling down on a tradition that has historically been, well, toxic in a way. Meta just added 3 men to its board, including UFC CEO Dana White, a figure who practically defines masculine energy. And his induction brings the board's gender balance to 10 men and just 3 women. Isn't that quite something? Remember when Zuckerberg took paternity leave, he was praised for defying outdated norms, showing that parental leave is not just a woman's issue. But now, are we really back to this? Also, what does masculine energy even mean? Today, men are redefining masculinity on their own terms. More and more are showing that men can cry, men can talk about their feelings, and men can also express themselves freely and be allies to others. And contrast that to tech bros like Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and their old school ideas of manliness. Remember when they challenged each other to MMA fights and flexed on yachts? Let's just zoom out a bit, and here's a question. How often do we really hear that women are too soft for leadership, or that they lack the masculine ambition required to succeed? Because if women dare to display any of those same traits, aggression, ambition, they are in a way questioned for being quote-unquote too masculine sometimes, for not fitting into the feminine mold, as many questionably call it. So which is it? The thing is, we're in 2025, and do we really want to double down on the same toxic masculinity that's dragged corporate cultures down for years? Is that the future that is being envisioned? Because it certainly doesn't sound like a future that women can thrive in. So here's some food for thought. Maybe it's time to dial back on the so-called masculine energy, the way it's being portrayed, and try a little more balance. Maybe then it will be realized that junking medieval ideas about masculinity is what makes workplaces better. It's been a significant couple of days, meanwhile, for Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. Elon Musk's SpaceX and Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin are both locked in a heated space race. And in the latest, SpaceX's Starship test flight ended in failure. The spacecraft was destroyed. The SpaceX Starship rocket broke up in space minutes after launching from Texas, forcing flights over the Gulf of Mexico to alter course to avoid falling debris. In fact, widespread disruptions were reportedly caused to air traffic. Remember, this is Musk's flagship rocket program. Video shot by Reuters showing orange balls of light streaking across the sky over the Haitian capital, leaving trails of smoke behind. Dozens of commercial flights diverted to other airports or altered course to avoid potential fresh updates in the Saif Ali Khan stabbing case. The intruder responsible for attacking the Indian actor during a burglary attempt at his home is still on loose, reportedly. Earlier today, reports suggested that Mumbai police arrested the suspect and was being interrogated by the authorities. But the police have now clarified that no arrest was made in the Saif Ali Khan stabbing case. This means more than 30 hours later, the suspect who stabbed the Indian actor is still at large and roaming freely. And this brings us to the question, what is Mumbai police actually doing? Reports suggesting that around 20 teams have been made to investigate the matter, but nothing concrete has really come out so far. Last evening, a CCTV video surfaced showing the culprit fleeing the scene. The Mumbai Crime Branch utilized technical data to advance their investigation, analyzing the number of mobile phones active in the vicinity during the time of the burglary attempt. And this crucial information played a pivotal role in apprehending the suspect. That took place around 2:30 a.m. on Thursday. Saif Ali Khan is now out of danger and is recovering at the Leelavati hospital. After undergoing surgery, the actor sustained 6 stab injuries, including 2 deep cuts on his back, 1 dangerously close to his spine, and a minor injury on his neck.
He has to take rest for some time because of the wounds on the back especially, which can have chances of infection. And his movements are restricted for a week almost.
Meanwhile, many movie stars from the country like Raveena Tandon, Pooja Bhatt have sent their thoughts and prayers to the injured actor and his family. Some have also raised concern about the law and order situation in Mumbai. If you thought the current job market was crazy and throwing up challenges, here's something that will shock you even more perhaps. Over a fifth of last year's Harvard MBA class remained unemployed months after graduation. You heard that right. Landing a job in the US has become so difficult that even the elite, the creme de la creme of the workforce, can no longer rely on their university's prestigious name to open doors for them. According to reports, 3 months after leaving Harvard Business School last spring, 23% of MBA graduates said that they were still looking for work. That's up from 20% in 2023 and 10% in 2022. More than a dozen top MBA programs in the US, like those at the University of Pennsylvania, Stanford University, New York University, also reported disappointing employment outcomes last year. And it begs the question, is it the current job market, or could this be a sign of some deeper issues within these prestigious institutions? It depends on who you ask. Graduates and business school staff have pointed to reduced recruiting efforts by consultancies and major tech companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft as a contributing factor. So what should one do really? Some graduates from prestigious institutions like Harvard Business School find themselves in a position where they are lowering their expectations, taking job opportunities far removed from the prestigious roles they once aspired for. And this shift stems reportedly from a growing recognition that job prospects may not align with their previous ambitions. Interestingly, those who have successfully secured positions suggest a fundamental need for introspection. And they recommend reconsidering what they mean when they say they are looking for a good job. You see, some graduates have discovered fulfilling roles that align with their skills and interests, even if they were perceived as a step down from their pre-MBA aspirations. Sure, one can reconsider what they consider as good jobs, quote unquote, but those who wait for prestigious roles may not be wrong altogether. Because it's true, there is a restructuring occurring in the job market. The COVID-19 pandemic changed the entire landscape as companies pivot towards more efficient operations and leaner teams. Companies are increasingly showing new priorities. The demand for specialized technical skills has surged, overshadowing traditional MBA training that emphasizes general business knowledge. Now, this also raises questions. Are conventional MBA programs still relevant in an evolving economic climate? And let's not forget, advancements in AI are further complicating job security with regular layoffs. In the end, one cannot but help wonder. One cannot help but wonder, are traditional MBA graduates truly prepared for the future of workplaces? With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Maudie Gampir, signing off. Have a good weekend.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.
Amid escalating violence in the eastern regions of the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Congolese army announces significant military gains against the M23 rebel group, with Rwanda's Paul Kagame calling for dialogue. Benin celebrates Vodun Days, a festival centered around the arts, culture and spirituality of the voodoo cult, where women are the mainstay of the festivities. And Senegal aims to promote their culture using toys like traditional wrestler figurines or dolls that come in a wide range of skin tones, including albino. That's this week on World of Africa, at these times on WION, World is One.
This week on Check It Out, we explore the rise of robots and see how robots are revolutionizing industries and changing the way we live and work. We also delve into how cutting-edge technologies are revolutionizing healthcare. And we take you on a unique journey to Tokyo's extinct Media Museum, a fascinating space dedicated to preserving the history of technology. This and more on WION World is One at these times.
The biggest gathering of humanity on the planet.
This is quite an interesting spot.
WION brings you exclusive coverage from the ground of the Mahakumbh Mela.
These bikes will be patrolling all around.
From security to infrastructure, from tent city to Sangam, we've got you covered. This is Tribeni Sangam, where Ganga, Yamuna and the mythical Saraswati rivers meet. Experience faith. Experience culture.
Tent as well.
Experience Mahakumbh. Only on WION. World is One.
This week on Inside South Asia, border fencing and demarcation tensions soar between India and Bangladesh along the 4,000-kilometer border. 26 million children are out of school in Pakistan. A look at the severe crisis on education in the country. And the world's biggest religious gathering, the Mahakumbh Mela 2025, kickstarts in Prayagraj.
Har Har Mahadev!
All this and much more on Inside South Asia.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
This week on Check It Out, we explore the rise of robots and see how robots are revolutionizing industries and changing the way we live and work. We also delve into how cutting-edge technologies are revolutionizing healthcare. And we take you on a unique journey to Tokyo's extinct media museum, a fascinating space dedicated to preserving the history of technology.